I freak up room, no see biting, never bites. Fast for the women and the girls down with the guys. Spin now see black, you right by. OMG, Max 4, Robin C, Gallon Neck Night. Hot stove talk, Robin C, bringing the hype. EC's alive, plus trust under those in my city life. Right? Queens got the dreams united. On the rag, try rap in me stack. Night and under that chocolate flag. Smack that home out the park. Fuck the deafening black. Side game time, Robin CP time to ignite. Under NYC skies, we fight the good fight. Remains cheer in the orange we unite. Match forever. I'm fit to be in sight. Match bright and high. Energy like a live wire. Queen City chance. Passion never tires. Grand slam dreams and paces focus fast. Holding it steady cause we know we gonna last. We the kings of the field, time to ignite. Under NYC skies, we fight the good fight. Remain cheer in the orange we unite. Match forever, our victory in sight. All hearts ignite like NYC stars. Robin CP, guiding even through scars. Queens got the glow, city anthem flows.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to episode 18 of Mets Hot Stove. I am doing a solo show here tonight, so it's going to be very interactive with the chat tonight, as the chat is already burning hot right here on the stream tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome on this Saturday, the week of Christmas, ladies and gentlemen, coming up, and we talk about the New York Mets and the interest and the rumors and the news that has been pouring out over the last couple of hours that probably got the Met fan base very, very interested in what is going on with the New York Mets and the Alonso situation, the Bregman situation, the Sasaki situation, and much, much more in regards to our New York Mets. So make sure you hit on that like button, guys. And if you're new to the channel, how are you doing? Hopefully you keep on tuning in and coming back for more, but subscribe to the channel, guys, and let's talk about our New York Mets. But before we do that, some sad news on the baseball front, as the greatest stolen base king in MLB history, Rickey Henderson, has passed away at the age of 65. And of course, he is, he was a New York Met. It was in his later years, but what I remember with Rickey Henderson, and I was young, but what I remember of Rickey Henderson as a New York Met, and obviously as an Oakland A's as well, when he used to do that pimp job after he hits a home run, and he used to just, with that quick bat and then that boom and just, pimp down the first base line, and just was Rickey Henderson. And, the stolen base king, was a great player, Hall of Famer, a guy that just brought a presence to a team just by being on that team. Obviously with the New York Mets, he was in his later years, but did help the Mets, during the time he was here, and was still very, very, good for the New York Mets. And, it's unfortunate at the age of 65. I didn't see any reports of how he passed. I don't know if he had cancer. Again, that's probably the opinion, the thoughts going around, because you didn't really hear nothing that he was sick. Again, I haven't been, focused on Rickey Henderson, but I'm not sure if they said how he passed away. But again, it's still very sad at the age of 65, very young, 65 years old. And, we lose another legend today, and that's unfortunate. So I just wanted to, put that out there on the channel before we get started with the Mets, because obviously that is secondary to, somebody losing their life. But it is extremely sad that Rickey Henderson at the age of 65 is gone, and one of the greatest stolen base kings of all time. And he was a showman, and we all know that. So rest in peace to Rickey Henderson, the great stolen base king. All right, guys. So I see in the chat everybody's talking about all this different stuff about David Stearns and Pete Alonso, Bregman, Saki, all that fun stuff. And we're going to get all to that tonight. So hit that like button, guys. And let's get started with about 2 hours ago, Mike Mayer, and a respectable reporter of Metsmerized Online, as most of you follow him on X and know about him, tweeted out there that the Mets still have strong interest, and it's seeming like more and more that, little by little, more and more interests and leaks are getting out there that the Mets are extremely interested in Alex Bregman. And, Met fans are going to, cry to the heavens and, panic, thinking that Alex Bregman, if the Mets have strong interest and possibly sign him, that they will be out on Pete Alonso. And Mike Mayer also confirmed that he's heard no indication that if the Mets do sign Bregman, that they're out on Pete Alonso. That is not the case at all. And that is what is starting to lean into, as just over the last few hours, there's been a couple of moves, right? The Arizona Diamondbacks are on the verge of trading for Naylor. Carlos Santana has signed a one-year deal with the Guardians. So, little by little, there's less and less teams that would be in need of a first baseman. And the Yankees just signed Paul Goldschmidt. We know about the Cubs and the Mariners, but again, the Mariners can't do nothing until they shed payroll. The Cubs, it doesn't seem like they're that much involved in the Pete Alonso sweepstakes. I actually try to, again, you try to get a little, get in touch with different cities and different fan bases and try to hear a little bit of news in regards to other parts of the country. And, I started listening to Chicago sports radio just to see if there's anything talking about that. Anybody that was talking about the Cubs, they had a beat reporter on for the Cubs on their show yesterday, one of the sports shows yesterday, and I was listening to it, and he said nothing about Pete Alonso at all in regards to the Chicago Cubs, which, I find interesting considering the fact they tried to trade for him the last 3 seasons, and that's all the talk was the Cubs want Pete Alonso. But again, I don't know if the Cubs are willing to add money to their payroll like that. And that is the issue when it comes back to Pete Alonso. And the strong interest in Bregman, I continue to talk about this, right? Stearns has beat the drum on this over and over and over again. He talks about run prevention when it comes to the defensive capabilities of players. And this is not a detriment to Vientos or Pete Alonso. And this doesn't hurt the lineup at all when it comes to getting a guy like Alex Bregman. He is an elite defender. Yes, he is better than Mark Vientos. Again, no insult to Mark Vientos at all. Vientos has showed himself to be a very good third baseman, right? Better than probably the majority of us expected. But if you can put Bregman at third base, add him to a lineup, throw Vientos to DH, and bring back Pete Alonso, this lineup is probably one of the better lineups in baseball, other than the Dodgers, if you really look at it. Like 1 through 9, it is scary as hell. You add Bregman's 25 home runs, and I still think he could be a 25 to 30 home run guy easily, because I talked about the StatCast with Alex Bregman when it comes to his home runs, that he would have hit between 4 to 5. Now, there was a 5th home run that could have been borderline home run, could have been off the wall, could have been top of the wall at Citi Field. And again, we go, crazy when it comes to this home road stats. Bregman's hit just as many home runs on the road than he did at home, right? And the Crawford boxes are, he is more of a pull hitter. We all know that. But if you pull the ball at Citi Field, you're hitting the ball over the wall, right? It's when you get to left center and center field and the gaps is where you got to, really hit one out. But Bregman would have hit 4 to 5 home runs more if he played at Citi Field over Minute Maid Park. So he would have hit 27, 28 home runs as a New York Met. So, again, we're not looking for, and again, we're looking at Bregman in a totally different way here. Bregman was never a huge power hitter, right? We lose focus on that, and it was stupid to think that you're battling and comparing Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman when they're two totally different hitters. Pete Alonso is the power guy. Alex Bregman is more of a guy that is a run producer. He finds different ways to score his runs, right? He can have 90 RBIs, but he does it in a different manner than what Pete Alonso does. And it doesn't mean that one is more off better than the other. Like Pete Alonso gets his majority of his RBIs with home runs. Alex Bregman finds his RBIs in different aspects on, singles, doubles, triples, home runs. He does it in different aspects where Pete Alonso hits the majority of gets his RBIs from home runs, which both are not a bad thing here. And if you add both of them to this lineup, along with Juan Soto, along with Lindor, Nimmo, Vientos, Alvarez, that's how many guys already? 7? And we're not even talking about Siri, who is probably going to be batting 8th or 9th. We don't even know about the second base situation. That is somebody that's going to be batting 8th or 9th. So you're talking about 1 through 7. And it is insane to think how good that lineup can be. And every one of the guys I mentioned, right? You can go from leadoff spot all the way to the 9 spot, right? Lindor, 25 home runs at least. Let's go 25 to 30. You got Brandon Nimmo, 20 to 25, right? You got Alonso. Let's go Bregman, 25 home runs. Alonso, 35 to 40 home runs. Vientos, 30 to 35 home runs. Alvarez, 20 home runs. Right? And that's already certain guys already. That's already what, 6 guys? Then let's go in the rest of around the horn a little bit, right? We got second base, right? Who? If it's McNeil, all right, probably 15 home runs, right? If it's Acuna, I don't think Acuna is going to be a big power guy, but let's say 15 to 20 home runs. So you're still looking at that aspect of 15 home runs there in your 8th spot, 7 or 8 spot. Siri is not an average guy, but in the 8th spot, this is a guy that can hit 20 home runs. So there's 20 home runs there. The Mets could be even better with their home runs as a whole, but yet still have good hitters in Nimmo, who I think should go back to the way he was. He could still hit 20 home runs and still be the on-base guy and be the, the gap-to-gap guy that he was prior to the last few seasons. Right? You got guys like Vientos, another power guy who actually hits for average. I think Alvarez is going to show more with his power. Average, I don't know. I'm not going to say Alvarez is going to hit 30, 280. But that's the other thing. Series can be your 8th hitter or 9th hitter and hit 20 home runs. Like the Mets lineup, because I didn't think this was actually possible, but because there are less and less suitors for Pete Alonso, the Mets are going to get Pete Alonso, and we all know that Pete Alonso is going to make the final call to the New York Mets. Unless somebody blows Pete Alonso out of the water, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen, the Mets are going to get an amazing deal for Pete Alonso no matter what the contract is. Like, that's a fact. And getting Alonso on a 4 or 5 year deal, probably around $100 to $130 million. Like, the Mets don't have to give him 7 for $158 that they offered him earlier in the season. That was around $22.5 million a year. They don't even have to offer him that. They can offer him 5 for $110, 5 for $125, give him $24, $25 million a year, a lot less than what a lot of people assumed Pete Alonso would probably get. They were probably thinking north of $27 to $30 million a year. But again, the Mets don't have to bid against themselves. This is the problem with, I think a lot of people get annoyed about. And it is frustrating, I'm not going to lie, with David Stearns, right? Ever since Juan Soto has signed and Max Fried signed, there hasn't been top-line starters, even Tier B starters, that really have come off the board. So for the Mets to be aggressive for Pete Alonso, or even Alex Bregman at this point, or even any of the Tier B, the Manayas of the world, the Buehlers of the world, the Flahertys of the world, it's not like teams are jumping to get these guys for 2 years, 3 years, 4 year deals. They're not. Even Corbin Burns for that matter. Right? So the New York Mets and Stearns aren't doing anything wrong in this part. And I don't think they, is it frustrating that we're not getting the aggressive play by David Stearns? We all know He's not an aggressive GM or president of the baseball ops. We know that. This is not news to us. You're getting frustrated about something that we all know. He's methodical in what he's doing here. And at the end of the day, if I tell you the New York Mets signed Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso, find a way to get either Sasaki or Burns, and let's say Minaya for that matter, either one of those, two of those three pitchers, that is an A-plus offseason along with Juan Soto. That is a huge offseason for the New York Mets. They not only solidify their lineup, they actually get better defensively in the infield. And I could say what anybody, mostly Yankee fans talk about it, but Met fans do too, right? We all know Juan Soto isn't a great right fielder. Even though he led the league, he was one of the leaders in assist, throwing out base runners at home and at other bases on the field, on the infield. So he got an arm. He does that well. Now, he takes bad routes to balls, sure. But that's why you got to have an elite center fielder. And if it's Tyrone Taylor, or most likely it's going to be Theory, who is an elite defender, better than Bader, if you can believe that, actually better defender than Bader, you don't have to worry about Juan Soto covering that right center field gap. That's what Siri's there for. We can all talk about why Juan Soto took bad routes to balls. You saw the Yankee fans put montages of Juan Soto misjudging balls and going back on balls and misplaying balls and all that craziness, which is understandable. But Aaron Judge is not an elite center fielder. He is an average center. I would say above average center fielder. He's decent center fielder. He is actually a much better right fielder than he is a center fielder. So all these Yankee fans talking about Juan Soto, look at all the bad routes he took the balls. Yeah, because he had to cover right center because Aaron Judge isn't a very good center fielder. He's solid for what he is in center field, but he's a right fielder. And Michael, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, okay. But again, are you? I'm sorry, you still got Jazz Chisholm at third base. You kind of don't have a second baseman. I like the fact that the Yankees got Devin Williams. I thought that was a great move. I also thought I don't like the Max Fried deal, to be quite honest with you. But I give credit for the Yankee fans for targeting Max Fried and getting him over the Red Sox. Right? They clearly overpaid, but I never blame a team for overpaying for a guy that they wanted when there's competition for him. Right? The Red Sox offered him a 7-year deal. The Yankees went 8. You give all the credit in the world for the Yankees to give him their 8th year, but Max Fried is a solid pitcher, really good pitcher, but he's also a guy that has had injury concerns the last 2 seasons, and I think that's concerning, and there have been arm issues, but it's not a bad thing. I'm not talking about stupid about Judge. Judge is not an elite center fielder. Judge don't go into the gaps as well as elite center fielders. Yeah, he made that tremendous catch in left center in the World Series, but he doesn't make many of those. He's better at coming in on balls than going back on balls, right? That was a great play. But the huge issue was he wasn't covering the right center field gap at Yankee Stadium as well as a guy like Bader or Siri or Tyrone Taylor or Trent Grisham of the Yankees. If you have an elite center fielder, there's less ground that Juan Soto has to cover. So now Juan Soto has to cover the right field straight up and the right field line. He doesn't have to worry about right center because Jose Siri is going to take control over that right center. And Nimmo, who I think is a much better left fielder than center fielder, has no problem going to that left center field gap. And then Siri can also cover that left center field gap. That's the point of the difference between Juan Soto, a Yankee with Aaron Judge in center field, than Siri, who is much better center fielder than Aaron Judge, with Juan Soto in right field, right? I do believe that the Jose Siri sign-in, or trade for that matter, was in line with if the Mets get Soto, you don't have to worry too much about the defensive discrepancies of Juan Soto, because of Jose Siri. And even if Marte happened to be the right fielder, let's say the Mets went with right field Marte. We know Marte's defensive capabilities have been declining over the last couple of years with age and injuries. Siri still helps that. So that was a smart trade by David Stearns because of the fact he knew either option, Marte or Soto, you got Siri covering that right center field gap for a little bit less of a good defender in right field. So there you go. That is the issue. That is the reason why I think Juan Soto is less likely. No, D-Mac, I don't think Siri's going to be a starting center fielder. Tyrone Taylor is going to be a backup. Siri needs to play. He needs to be the starting center fielder. I'm sorry. I like Tyrone Taylor coming off the bench because he can play all three right field positions in an elite form. I like him coming off the bench. Siri is a guy who can be a starting center fielder because he's going to be batting 8th or 9th, and he can provide you 20 home runs. He has more power than Tyrone Taylor, and he has more speed than Tyrone Taylor. He's a stolen base guy as well. So I like Siri starting in center field because, again, I'd rather have the defense in center field, especially if you get Bregman and Alonso and you pair them with all the guys that I just talked about in the lineup, with Soto, with Lindor, with Nimmo, with Alvarez, with Vientos. You don't need a ton of offensive, you don't need an average guy in the 8th spot. You can get a guy that, is a power guy, doesn't hit for average. He can hit 20 home runs, no problem. But I like to have a center fielder, especially if your offense is taken care of 1 through 7 in your lineup. My center fielder can be a subpar offensive player as long as he's providing elite defense. The difference with Bader and Tyrone Taylor last year was Tyrone Taylor was starting to hit better, and he provided the same amount of tremendous defense that Bader provided, but Bader didn't hit. So that's why Tyrone Taylor went in. Jack, I understand. He didn't bat 180 last year. He batted 220. All right. But again, we're looking at it of different perspective. We're not looking for Jose Siri to bat 5th in this lineup. He's batting 8th or 9th. Right? Siri's in this roster and in this lineup mostly for his defense, and majority because of his defense. And again, why do we act like Tyrone Taylor is going to bat 270 here? He's not. He's going to bat basically just as bad, if not average-wise, as Jose Siri. Maybe 240, maybe. But Siri provides a little bit more power than Tyrone Taylor. He's a 20 home run guy. He provides more stolen base threat than Tyrone Taylor. This is a situation when if Siri is batting 9th and gets on base, now you have him on base with the threat of Lindor leading off and coming up in the same inning, turning over the lineup. Now he can be a threat on the base paths, get in scoring position for your top guys in the lineup. Let's see. Just checking the comments, guys. Give me a second. Yeah, I want to say Tyrone Taylor's bat more trusted because I see it this way. Siri's probably, I would say, above, a little bit more of above elite fielder than Tyrone Taylor. Even though Tyrone Taylor is really damn good, I think Siri's better. He covers a lot more ground. He's quicker. And I think he's better center fielder. I like Tyrone Taylor being on the bench only because I like him. I don't know if Siri mostly played center field. Tyrone Taylor could play all 3 outfield positions. That's why I like Taylor coming in late in games. If you got a lead, getting Nimmo off his feet in left field, right? Maybe even taking Juan Soto out of the game in right field, something like that, right? So Tyrone Taylor is a better corner outfielder. Siri is a legitimate center fielder. Now, could he play left and right field? Sure. But the majority of his play has been in center field. I'm not messing with that, right? Leave him in center field. He can cover the gaps, no problem. And Tyrone Taylor can come in for either corner outfielder late in the game to provide extra defense if you have a lead. That's why I like that. And that's not a detriment to Tyrone Taylor. right? He's going to get his starts, right? Some days you're going to probably, and I think the Mets are going to, if they do get Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso, Vientos is going to be everyday DH. I know that kind of annoys people because Vientos worked really hard at third base, but we're looking to better our team, right? As a whole. You better your team while keeping Vientos' bat, which is his number one reason why he's on this team, is because of his bat. You get better defensively at third base with Bregman while still getting offense from third base with 250, 20 to about 25 to 27 home runs with Bregman, 80 to 90 RBIs. So you're adding that, and you're bringing back Pete Alonso with the 35, 40 home run power, 35 to 40 plus home run power. With Vientos, that's probably going to hit between 30 and 35 home runs. With Lindor's 25 to 30 home runs. With Nimmo, 20 to 25. Like, just look at that. That lineup 1 through 6. And I'm not even throwing in Alvarez yet. You know, you could throw in Alvarez probably in sixth, and probably sixth in this lineup, probably seventh. I'm gonna go over it right now. Let's do it right now. If Bregman and Alonso are on his team, we're gonna go Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, Bregman, Alvarez. Wait, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I forgot about Nimmo. Sorry about that. So Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo, Bregman, Alvarez 7th, whoever the hell you want to put in second base, McNeil or Acuna 8th, and Siri 9th. 1 through 7 is all 20-plus home run guys. So you're not only providing more power throughout your lineup, you're providing a lot longer lineup. Your 7th hitter is Alvarez. So if he does hit better than last year, even just power alone, and hits another 15 home runs compared to his 9, say if he hits 12 more home runs more, and he hits 21 home runs, that is 12 more home runs more than he hit last year, which is going to lead to more RBIs. You hope that he can get that average up a little bit more. But again, when your 7, 8, and 9 hitter is, let's say McNeil gets traded. Let's say Acuna is on this team. You're going to have Alvarez, Acuna, Siri, or Alvarez, Siri, Acuna. I'm sorry. That's one of the better lineups in baseball. It's that good. And you just assume that Bregman will be better with a lineup that is better than he had with the Astros over the last couple of seasons. You also think that Alonso would be better in a lineup that involves Vientos protecting him and Juan Soto in front of him. I mean, you couldn't have a better cocoon around Pete Alonso. And I still believe that Pete Alonso should have been the protection for more players, but whatever. I mean, you just assume that Pete Alonso would be better when you got Juan Soto in front of you and Vientos behind you. Like, that is a dangerous combination. So the good news is that the interest in Bregman does not stop the Mets from getting Pete Alonso. Why is that? Now, if I think there was more competition for Pete Alonso and the price can get to 7 years, $200 million plus, then I would say, okay, Bregman's probably the option because Pete Alonso is going to get an outrageous contract because there's too much competition for him. That would be the only reason. But because of the fact that Pete Alonso, look, the Guardians just signed Santana. Naylor is getting traded most likely to the Diamondbacks. Goldschmidt went to the Yankees. Seattle is not spending any money to bring in a bat of Pete Alonso's elk unless they shed payroll. And until that happens, the Mets might actually sign Pete Alonso by the time that happens. Too late for them. And the Cubs don't seem like they're interested in spending that money. So where is Pete Alonso going? So the Mets have Pete Alonso in the palm of their hands. Like, unless somebody comes out of nowhere with a huge bid, which I don't see happening, guess what? Pete Alonso is going to come back to the Mets on probably a deal that the Mets are very comfortable with, along with giving a now. Do you have to maybe overpay a tad for Alex Bregman because there is a little bit of competition out there for him? Sure. But when you bring back Pete Alonso, who cares what you pay Alex Bregman, right? Who cares? So you get both of those guys. You make your lineup better. You make your defense better in the infield. And now your lineup is set. Your roster offensively is set. Besides bench pieces, of course. Now you can solely focus on the pitching. Because I don't see any pitching getting signed until probably the new year. I was like, let's be honest. Maybe you'll have one of the tier B guys come off the board, but I don't think much is going to happen until after the new year. I think Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso are going to sign before the new year. So that's going to come to a head rather quickly. So I'm ready for a look. I was okay with Bregman if Alonso didn't come back, and I was okay with Alonso coming back without Bregman. I think either one would have been fine. But the likelihood of both of them just changes everybody's perspective on bringing in Bregman now, because everybody likes the idea, because everybody's going to be euphoric that Pete Alonso's back. Yet bringing in Bregman here, a guy, World Series champion, postseason badass. This guy is huge in the postseason. And you just throw that in there with Vientos having a great postseason, Alonso, who's had a really good postseason when he made it the last 2 times in his career. It's starting to look like a team that is developing here. And if you just get a little bit more pitching, which would be nice, again, I still believe that the Mets are going to trade for either Luis Castillo, sign Burns, or find a way to get Sasaki. I think one of those are going to happen. And everything else is going to fall into line after that. If you get that top line starter, everything else makes it a lot easier. You can go Manaea Flaherty, Manaea Buehler, Manaea somebody else. You don't have to go crazy at that point. Yeah, trade for Pablo Lopez. Take on that contract. Absolutely. I'm trying to catch up to the comments, guys. There's a ton, and it just keeps on rolling. Yeah, Pablo Lopez is a solid option, right? You take on that contract. You don't got to give up a lot. He's a reliable starter, give you 180 plus innings. He'll give you 6 innings. He'll throw a gem every now and then. He'll give you 6 innings, 3 runs. Every time he shows up on the mound, he'll have his occasional blow up, but which starter doesn't? That's a guy I would like. Like, you can get Manaea and trade for Pablo Lopez, and you don't have to give much prospects at all. You just have to take on that money because the Twins already said they want to shed payroll and find a way to get Sasaki in here. My Lord. Or even trade for Luis Castillo or Corbin Burns, whatever you got to do. But if you can get Pablo Lopez in here, that is a heck of a move. That's a solid number 3-4. I think he could be more of a 3. And sorry about the sirens here. What the hell is going on? They're in the complex right now and have no idea what's going on. But hey, light went out. That's not good. I don't know what's going on around here. Light went out. I don't know what's going on, but that's all right. We'll be all right. All right. So let's see. Yeah, horse. I understand that. Look, I'd be okay with Flaherty, but Flaherty can't be one of the main pieces here. Like, I'm still not excited about Manaea Flaherty with Kodai Senga. I just don't like that at all. You need one of the top guys that I've talked about. That's just what I feel. I don't feel like you've done a good job this offseason. I don't care if you bring in Bregman or Alonso or there we go. Light came back on. I don't know what the hell happened. But all right. I don't care if you bring in Bregman and Alonso. Like, I don't want to score 6.5 runs per game and you're giving up 7. I'm sorry. Like, I really want Manaea back, but you're not going to play me as a fool saying, oh, Kodai Senga and Manaea is at the top of the rotation. Great. I have to count on Kodai Senga being healthy and good, who hasn't pitched in a year. And I need similar, if not close, to what Manaea gave last year. I'm sorry, that's too many ifs. Yeah, Ken, he's not just doing minor league. Again, why are you acting like these pitchers are coming off the board? They're not. Right? The Mets continue to closely keep an eye on Sean Manaea and probably been talking to him this whole time. They're going to be in on one of the other guys. And again, I think that the market is slowing down because of Corbin Burnes and because of Sasaki. Until teams know where Sasaki is going, what's the point of signing Manaea, Buehler, Flaherty, and others in that tier B when those guys are not going to come off the board until Burnes or Sasaki, if not both of them, sign? Like, that's just the way it's trending. And again, you're bidding against yourself again. And that is the stupid part about it. Now, I think when it comes to Corbin Burnes, I think the Mets should just throw a 4-year deal with a very high AAV. Go 4 for $40 a year. Go 4 for $120 or 4 for $160. $40 million a year with a second-year opt-out or first-year opt-out, whatever you want to do. Yeah, Ken, because I've seen it already with Stearns. Like, I don't know who you wanted that came off the board that you were upset about, right? The Pete Alonso situation is kind of just sitting there for David Stearns to pounce whenever he feels like it. Burnes is still on the board. Manaea, Flaherty, Buehler, all on the board, right? There isn't a guy that I said, damn, I wish the Mets would have signed him. Until that happens, I'm not going to kill Stearns. And I've been the first one to say, I don't like the approach that David Stearns is doing here with the pitching. I think he should be more aggressive. But how am I calling him a fool or thinking he's doing something wrong here? If these guys are still on the board and these guys aren't signed. He's got a pulse on this. He knows what's going on with these pitchers. He probably knows the price tags of every one of the pitchers we're talking about. And I don't see anybody jumping in line to be aggressive here. Max Fried's situation developed quickly. And I still believe the Red Sox and Yankees panicked after the Juan Soto situation. And they said, oh my God, we just lost the best offensive player on the market. Let's go with one of the best pitchers on the market in Max Fried. And they had to extremely overpay to get that guy. Yeah, Ken, I don't think more lucky than qualified. I think that's not fair. I don't think that's fair at all. I'm not going to blame a guy for having confidence in his ability. Like, I'm just not doing that. Ken, you're confident in your ability, but you're a jerk. But you're confident in it. So good for you. That's awesome. I appreciate that, to be quite honest with you. But you got to understand, Bellinger is not as good as Siri. That was a trade, though. And again, I'm sorry. Why do you want Bellinger in here? Because I tell you right now, if Bellinger was here, we'd be playing first base, by the way. So you would lose out on Pete Alonso. I don't see the point of the Mets going to get Bellinger for. I don't think Bellinger is very good. I think he's a shell of him. He wouldn't be playing center field. I'll tell you that right now. You're trading for somebody like that, you're going to put him at first base. I'm not putting him. Yeah, you can put him in center field, sure. But why trade for Bellinger when you don't have to? The Yankees want Bellinger because they need offense. That's why they got him. Because they lost Juan Soto. And they got Bellinger so they can move Aaron Judge back to right field. Yeah, I like Siri for what this Mets lineup is going to be. Yes. Because you think you need an offensive player in every part of the lineup, and you don't. Not especially with the lineup that I'm projecting here. You don't need it. I'm sorry. My 8th hitter, I don't need a guy that's batting 270 and 30 home runs. I'm sorry. Who has that? The Dodgers don't even have that. Siri's fine. You're looking at it from a different perspective. Oh, of course, Bellinger or Siri, sure. Sure. you can't compare the two. Bellinger is a better player, but you're looking at it from a different perspective. The Yankees needed Bellinger because they lost Juan Soto. They didn't want to spend the amount of years and the amount of money for Anthony Santander, who is better than Bellinger. They didn't want to do that because Anthony Santander is not a center fielder. He's a corner outfielder, right fielder in particular, and can play a little first base. But they didn't want Judge back in center field. That's why they got Bellinger. Sorry, I didn't like you like on 200 hitters. Yeah, well, I mean, you're in love with certain players. That's fine. But for what Siri provides for this team, and especially what the Mets are going to, I'm telling you right now, Bregman and Alonso are going to be a New York Met. I'm telling you right now, there's way too many rumors with the Mets. More and more, you hear more and more about Bregman. Almost, every week it seems like a new report comes out that the Mets are still interested in Bregman. Why is that? It just seemed like it's going to happen. And again, I think the Alonso situation is just going to develop because where is he going? So the Bregman Alonso situation, if they become New York Mets, Siri as an elite defender, batting 8th in the lineup. I mean, I'm sorry. Like Bregman, I'm sorry, Bellinger is not needed in the middle of this lineup when you got the guys that we just talked about, 1 through 7, 1 through 6 for that matter. I'm sorry. Yeah, listen, if I had the option, which you traded Eric Orzi for Siri, which is nothing, and you could say whatever you want about Bellinger, but they did trade a top 5 prospect and Petit. I mean, I'm sorry, they traded Petit, one of their pitchers. I mean, he was not considered a prospect anymore. But again, you're paying $20+ million for a guy that hasn't been the same player ever since he left the Dodgers. He's had good seasons, don't get me wrong. But we talk about pull hitters. Like everybody kills Bregman for that. Bellinger is a complete pull hitter. So why all of a sudden he'll just be good with the Mets? And all of a sudden start hitting balls, jacking them over right field. When he can hit a lot of pop-ups and they go out of Yankee Stadium. It made so much more sense for the Yankees. Because they needed it. They need the hope of that offense. Because they lost Juan Soto. The Mets got Juan Soto. So, yeah, I'd rather have the defensive center fielder because everybody's too much in love. You need all offense, 1 through 9. No, you don't. All right? Find me a 7 through 9 that is all hitting 20+ home runs and batting 280 and driving in 70, 80 RBIs. You know who those guys would be? They would be at top of the lineups for some teams. So, yeah, I would take away a little bit less offense. Even though Siri, yes, average-wise, sure. I 100% agree with you. But we're not looking at Jose Siri in the 6 hole or the 4 hole or the 2 hole or the 3, 4, 5 hole. You're talking about an 8th here. I'm not worried about that. Especially what he would provide in center field, knowing that he would cover more ground, specifically in right center, so Juan Soto doesn't have to worry about that gap as much at all. Because he had to worry about it more. Because, again, look at a lot of the highlights that people show with Juan Soto misjudging balls. You know how many balls are misjudged in right center? You know why? Because Aaron Judge didn't take control over that right center field gap, which he should have. So there you go. And that's fine. And I'm saying it here. I'm saying it now. I think Bregman's going to be a New York Met. And I think eventually, whatever that might be, I know Boris is trying to cling on to somebody else trying to get Alonso. I don't see it. The teams that I thought could be pursuing Alonso, the Astros, that's done, right? The Diamondbacks are on the verge of trading for Naylor for first base. The Guardians just signed Santana. The Cubs looking like they're not spending money, who always wanted Pete Alonso but are not spending the money. And the Seattle Mariners, the time they decide to actually shed payroll, Pete Alonso's probably going to be off the board in the New York Mets. So it's fallen in line that Pete Alonso is going to be, crawling back to the New York Mets for whatever deal they see fit. Now, it's still going to be a fair deal. The Mets ain't going to screw Pete Alonso, but they're going to get the deal they want Pete Alonso on. And that is a huge success for the New York Mets. You get the guy back that everybody wants, and you get him for the deal you want. And then you sign Alex Bregman, because I don't think the price tag for Alex Bregman is as crazy as a lot of people think it's going to be, because I don't think the Mets would be in on it if that was the case. Because here's the thing. If you re-sign Pete Alonso, right, great. You get Bregman. Yeah, you got to give up a draft pick, but it doesn't matter because there's a pretty good chance that a guy like, with Luis Severino, the Mets got a draft pick for that anyway. So you're not losing draft picks here. For the most part, you're gaining them. You basically even on that front. You re-sign one of your guys again in Sean Manaea. You don't have to worry about that. And, it's between Burns, Castillo, and Sasaki. I still believe the Mets are going to get one of those guys. So I think we're going to be okay on that front. Well, see, Richard, I agree with you. Everybody's like, oh, Boris, killed Alonso. No. Alonso hired Boris for a reason. It's Alonso's fault to think that there is more suitors. Again, why haven't people listened to what has been said about Pete Alonso around the league? This is not just by one executive that said that. This has been a trend for the last couple of seasons, what people around the league think of Pete Alonso. Either aging or not an elite defender and don't think the power is enough to require a guy to get 7 or 8 years, $200 million. People around the league don't believe that Alonso is worth 6+ years, north of $180 to $200 million. That's why there's teams that we thought would be in on Pete Alonso, signing Paul Goldschmidt as the Yankees, trading for for Naylor for the Diamondbacks, signing Walker for the Astros. That's why. Because they'd rather spend $12 million on Paul Goldschmidt at the end of his career than pay Pete Alonso $22 to $25 million for 5+ years. Again, Ken, I don't blame you. I'm not saying Pete Alonso's old. I never said that. Right? I talk about his other efficiencies, but I'm not talking about his age at all. Again, they don't think he's going to age well. What you believe and I believe are totally different with the other teams, but this is how they look at guys that are hitting the age of 30, and they look at trends. They look at how guys are going to age. Again, I don't care. I don't believe that shit. Right? I think if you can get the 3 or 4 years prime of their careers, and you might have to pay 2 or 3 years of, declining player, I do it. I don't care. I think Alonso is perfectly fine for a 5-year deal. I don't want to go beyond that. I don't think Pete Alonso at the age of 35 is going to be the same player. I don't know if that power is going to be there. So who knows? But I mean, I don't know how they judge it. I don't know how they determine it. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't care for that type of stuff. Right? I know what he does now and what he probably is going to do over the next 3 years. Because I truly believe, and I keep on saying this, why nobody wants to believe me or wants to agree with me on this is crazy to me. You sign Nimmo, you trade for Lindor, you sign Lindor. You bring back Pete Alonso, you got these guys for 3 or 4 years of their best prime years. That is your most important time to win a championship. You get Juan Soto, so he at the age of 26, so from 26 to 29 or 30, with Alonso, Nimmo, and Lindor over those next 3 to 4 years is your best chance of winning a championship with this core. Not saying you can't win year 6, 7, 8, 9, but your best chance with your best core players is between 3 to 4 years. You have to win in those years. I'm not saying Vientos and Alvarez or whatever other prospects might come up and take over that throne of the best core players. But those are ifs. Right now, you know what Nimmo is. You know what Lindor is. You know what Soto is. You know what Alonso is. There's a 3 to 4 year window with 3/4 of those players in their prime. I can care less what Soto does from 31 to 35. That doesn't interest me at that point because it's pointless if you don't win a World Series from the age of 26 to 30 with Juan Soto with your core guys that you have now. It doesn't make sense at all. So that's why I want to win a World Series, at least one, within that time frame where you're going to get the best years from Alonso, Nimmo, Lindor with Soto. Now you hope guys like Vientos and Alvarez take over that mantle when Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo are 34, 35 years old. You hope they take that the next step to become those guys in their prime. But again, as much as I like Vientos, as much as I think Alvarez is gonna pick up, doesn't mean they're gonna be that over the next 3-4 years. We don't know that. We can predict, we can have our opinions, but we don't know. We know what Nimmo is. We know what Lindor is. We know what Alonso is. We know what Soto is. That's your best chance to win over the next 3 to 4 years. You got to win a championship. And I'm saying this from a Mets fan who loves this team, who knows we haven't won since 1986, just like all of you. The best chance to win a World Series right now is the next 3 to 4 years. If they don't win a World Series in the next 3 to 4 years, we got a lot of long contracts that are not looking very good. And now you got those guys still playing on your team that are going to be declining, where you hope the other young guys and the other guys on your team, with Juan Soto leading the charge, with Vientos, with Alvarez, with who knows who else that might come up through the system. You hope they become what the other guys that are declining and aging have become. Because if not, you're in trouble. So the interesting thing is, what are the Mets and David Stearns going to do everything they can to make that happen? I'm not going to kill Stearns yet. And I don't like his pursuit of pitching this offseason, right? I don't care about Montas if you get one of the top line starters. That's irrelevant to me as a back end starter. You could do a lot worse than Montas as a 4th or 5th starter. My main concern is the top line starter. You get the top line starter, everything else is going to fall into place. If you don't do that, and you're going to tell me Minaya, Kodai Senga, Buehler, or Flaherty, with Montas, with Peterson, that doesn't make me feel good at all. But until that happens, I'm not going to kill David Stearns. We all know Cohen took charge in that Soto situation. We'll see what Stearns does. I think Bregman is all Stearns. I think Alonso is just a smart way of playing it. Because the Mets could have easily said, all right, we don't want Alonso getting any competition here with other teams. Let's just throw a contract out there. Same contract that we were going to offer him in the offseason. 7 years, 158. Let's make it a little higher because what he did in the postseason. 7 for 170, 180. They could have done that. And he probably would have signed. But look what happened. Pete Alonso's suitors are narrowing and basically almost non-existent besides the Mets. So Stearns have played that Pete Alonso situation completely on the smart end of that. Alex Bregman, I think, is David Stearns. He talks about run prevention. He provides that at third base. Yeah, I know Vientos played well at third, but he's not Bregman at third base. Can he be? Sure. but we're trying to win over the next 3 to 4 years. You get better by adding Bregman with Alonso and Vientos. You just do. Bregman is a win now over this next 3 to 4 years. Because if you sign Bregman for 5 or 6 years, you're looking again at that 3 to 4 year window with Lindor, Nimmo, Alonso, along with Juan Soto, to win over the next 3 to 4 years. So that is the whole thing that I'm trying to make people understand. And people don't want to say this. It's like they're afraid of it. The Mets need to win a World Series over the next 3 to 4 years with Lindor, Nimmo, and Alonso as their core in their prime years, because after that, they're in their mid-30s. Yeah, they might still show signs of being a good player, but not where they are right now in their prime. That's the important part. That's why the Mets are in on Bregman. Because of that. Because you have to win over the next 3 to 4 years. If you don't, sure, they're going to pivot, they're going to adjust, and they can still win after that. But your best time right now, with Vientos emerging, with, I believe, Alvarez is going to show more than what he did last year, along with the other guys that we just talked about. This is your best chance to win. So let's get it done. Let's bring in, as I put in, the dynamic duo of Bregman and Alonso. You add that to the lineup. They have one of the better lineups in baseball. Probably not better than the Dodgers, but close. You have 8 guys in your lineup that can hit 20-plus home runs. Obviously, the top of that top 6 can hit 20-plus, 25-plus. Some can hit even 30-plus. That's a tremendous amount more offense that you're adding to this lineup. Now, again, I don't like the approach Stearns is going when it comes to the pitching. I don't like that at all. But, as I said earlier, it doesn't make sense to kill David Stearns when I don't see any other team being aggressive, except for the Max Fried situation. But look at the steps and the dynamic of that situation and why that happened. And I'm going to explain it again. Juan Soto just signed with the New York Mets. Right after that happened, the rumors came out, and the reporters have come out. The Red Sox and Yankees have strong interest in Max Fried. They pivoted from the best offensive player to one of the better pitchers on the market. So they went from narrowing $700+ million on the best offensive player on the market to one of the better pitchers on the market. So they went on the pitching route. The Red Sox and the Yankees, we all know we're in the same division. They were fighting for that same player. The Red Sox went 7 years. The Yankees got aggressive, went 8 years, right? That was the only reason why Max Fried came off the board. I don't think Max Fried market would have developed as fast as we thought it, the way it happened. That's the reason why. Both of the Red Sox and the Yankees jumped quickly to their next plan. I'm not going to call it a panic move, but they panicked to plan B. They said, oh shit, look what we got to do. We got to do something different. And again, both of the teams got credit. And again, I give credit to the Yankees for being aggressive, targeting that guy and getting him. I think it's an overpay, but who cares? They got the guy they targeted. That's all that matters, right? The Mets overpaid for Pete Alonso. For Juan Soto. Who cares? They got their guy. They targeted him. They got him. Who cares? Right? We act like the Red Sox and the Yankees didn't offer him $700+ million. Either one of those teams could have got him if it was an overpay. I never care for a team overpaying for the guy they targeted. Who cares? At the end of the day, they're guaranteed contracts. You got the player that you wanted. That's all I care about. We are so fixated on the price tag and the years when it doesn't matter. Just get the player you want. Target him and get him. That's what I think they should do with the pitching. But the Mets aren't the only team that are slowly going through this starting pitching market. This is just what it is. The Mets aren't doing anything different than other teams. Now, I don't agree with it. I think you get aggressive with Corbin Burns. You give him a 4-year deal with a high AAV and see if he takes it. And maybe throw an opt-out in there if you want to. I leave that offer on the table while still pursuing a trade for Luis Castillo or a Sonny Gray, which has been talked about a little bit. Or just hope you get Sasaki. But I think hoping for Sasaki is a bad play. I don't think Stearns is necessarily doing that. Yeah, Ken, I don't. But again, he's not doing anything wrong that any other team is doing. And Ken, that's a stupid statement. He's not about making the team better. That is a stupid. Of course he is. Just because it ain't your plan doesn't mean that it's not. He don't want to make the team. Of course he does. It's his job. Yeah, well, I don't think it's lazy and lackluster. I just think that's the way he does it. And again, until he loses out on these guys, yeah, Ken, I understand other teams don't have Cohen, but that doesn't mean you just give everybody the highest offer you can give and let them take them all. Like, you don't do that. It's still a business. Like, you just make, we got Cohen. Just give Burns 9 years. Oh, give Alonso 7. Give Bregman 8. You don't do that. You still negotiate. You still do that. Ken, I'm not saying I'm wrong. There's nothing that I'm saying is wrong. I'm saying I'm leaving the David Stearns conversation open until those guys come off the board or until he signs other guys that say if he signs Minaya and Buehler. And that's what he goes with and hope for Sasaki. And we'd say we don't get Sasaki either. And we don't get Castillo. We don't get Burns. I'm not going to be happy at all. And I will kill him. I already said I don't like his approach. But that does not mean he's wrong. Because what if he does get a top-line starter, signs Minaya, and he did it doing his approach? Then you're going to be wrong. Will you admit you're wrong? Because you're already saying Stearns is terrible, he's a bad GM, he's this and that, and he's not. He put a team together that you believe weren't that good last year. Now, does it take some luck? Sure. Ken, that's not true. Sasaki 3 years away. Yeah, Ken, and I would love to be wrong too. I always said that. Like, just because I say my opinion and it might be a negative towards a player or a GM, I hope I'm wrong. Shit, how many Met fans were wrong that when they killed David Stearns last year? Small market Stearns. Well, you get Severino who had a 6-year rate. Minaya, who is a has-been. Yet they got the Game 6 of the NLCS and everybody looks stupid. So again, when I say negative things about Alonso or Nimmo or David Stearns, I hope they prove me wrong. I hope so. Like, I'd rather be wrong on my opinions that are on the negative end of players or GMs or owners for that matter than being right on that. You think I want to be right that I think Stearns might do Minaya and Buehler, which is fine options, and then hope for Sasaki and say we don't get him and Burns and Luis Castillo are off the board? I'm not. I would like, God damn it, I was right. I'd be pissed. You think I'd be happy because I'm right? And it hurts the team? Hell no. I'd rather be 100% wrong and having the team better and prove me wrong than me be right and have the team be worse. It doesn't make sense. That's not how I roll. Some people might rather be right than have the good team. I still believe there's Met fans that would rather complain rather than lose and not do good so they can complain and get, noticed than to have them win. Me, I don't care. I want to win. I've said it. I don't care about prospects. I trade whoever the hell you need to trade for proven players to win. I want to win a World Series. I'm sick and tired of all this nonsense. Oh, you can't get rid of this guy. You're damn right you can. Because the definition of a prospect is exactly what it is. prospect. There's too many question marks. The Mets have nobody that is Bryce Harper, that is Manny Machado, Juan Soto in their farm system offensively. Now, we can have a conversation about Sproat, but who knows? The fact of the matter is, unless there's a no-brain prospect that is a Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, then what are we talking about here? Get the guy you need that has been proven. That doesn't mean that the prospect you trade might turn out. Who cares? If you trade for Luis Castillo, do I really give a damn? And this is the problem that I had with the trade for Cano and Diaz. Was I extremely happy about that trade? No. You traded your number one prospect when it didn't make sense when he took on Cano's money, whatever. But we went so nuts about trading our top prospect to Seattle, who never does anything right, never wins in baseball Siberia, and we're worrying about Jared Kelenic. Who cares? And look what happened. The Mets won that trade, even though they had to pay Cano to do nothing. Kelenic got released or traded, went to Atlanta, was an okay player, nothing special. We worry so much about nonsense, about these prospects. Who cares? What GMs need to do, and this is what Stern needs to do. You got your top 10 prospects. He knows the ones he's not comfortable trading and ones that are going to be assets. That's what you do. Every team that has been contenders, that have won World Series, have had no problem trading certain prospects, if not most prospects, to have a chance of winning the World Series. The Dodgers have done it. The Nationals did it in 2019. The Phillies did it many years back. The Braves did it. The Rangers did it. Scherzer for Acuna, right? They've done it. At some point, the Mets never trade prospects to get better. They can be the best team in baseball or one of the better teams in baseball, and they still at the deadline won't trade top prospects because of, for whatever stupid reason, yet you have the chance of winning the World Series and you don't do it. That is mismanagement, in my opinion. I can care less about the prospect that can come up to 2026 if I can win a World Series in 2024. Just that simple. No, Michael, I didn't say they would be finished. I would say that you hope that the guys like Vientos, Alvarez, with Juan Soto takes over that next step of being the core, right? That's not saying it's over, but it's a fact. In 3 to 4 years, your guys that you gave contracts to in Alonso, Nimmo, most likely Alonso, Nimmo, and Lindor are going to be in their mid-30s. It's just a fact. Mothman, they've mostly always been that. Prospect huggers. And I think it's a huge problem. I think when you have a good enough team, and again, what if the Mets would have got a top line starter at the deadline? What if they had that starter that was a no-brainer? Now you didn't have to worry or concern yourself about who's pitching game 1 of this series. Why was it a question? Because we didn't have one. That's why. Maybe it would have turned out differently. Maybe actually having a top line starter in game 1, you would have won game 1 against the Dodgers. And who the hell knows what would have happened? I think the Mets half-ass deadlines and offseason by not trading for players they probably could trade for, but don't want to because of prospects. It's just silly to me, especially when you have a team that has 6 guys. Like you got Nimmo, Alonso, Vientos, Alvarez. Those are 4 guys in your lineup that are homegrown. 4. Let's say Acuna is your second baseman. That's 5. So 5 out of your 9 guys are homegrown. You sign Juan Soto, you traded for Lindor. So that's 7 guys now that is a part of your main core. Do we need prospects in your 8th or 9th spot in your lineup? No, you don't need it. And on top of that, the Mets have 47 middle infielders in their farm system, and they can't play everywhere. You can't fit them in. Trade them. They're fucking assets. It's so annoying that it's beyond stupid not to do it. Target a player that can help your team now over the next couple of seasons. You got 3 middle infielders for 1 spot in this lineup on the field. Vientos is your, let's say Bregman's your third baseman, or Vientos, whoever. Doesn't matter. Your third base is set. Shortstop, set. First base, set if you bring back Alonso. None of those guys that I'm going to talk about just now can play first base. Mauricio, Williams, Acuna. And you still have McNeil, by the way. Let's say McNeil's out of the picture. One of those guys are going to step up and play second base. Those other 2 guys need to be assets to bring in what you need. What is the biggest need for the New York Mets? Starting pitching. Top line starting pitcher. You have that in Luis Castillo. You have that in whatever trade guy you want to talk about. That's the top line starter. Those guys are freaking assets. You got to use them at some point because all they're going to do is stay in the minors and waste years away. That's all they're going to do. And then if you got if Mauricio or let's say Acuna doesn't pan out, what are you going to have Jet Williams there for 3 years? Oh, let's bring up Jet Williams. See if he can do it now. So now you wasted the value of Acuna. He didn't perform. Now he's done. Now Jet Williams is not a guy you could trade because now you got to use him at second base. Say if he performs, great. Now you have Mauricio around doing whatever. Because this is the situation right here, guys. And I'm going to point it out to you. I'm going to probably piss the Mauricio fans here. All right. If you sign Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso, Mark Vientos is your DH. There is absolutely no room for Ronnie Mauricio if Acuna is your second baseman. So what does that tell you? That you have Jet Williams and Ronnie Mauricio. Do you know how valuable those 2 guys are? You can get any pitcher you want on the trade market that's the top line starter with those 2 guys. Do it. The hell are you waiting for? There's no point in waiting. You see the guys that you want to hold on to that can help your team. I understand not trading your top pitching prospects. I understand that. Pitching is highly expensive. They get hurt most of the time. I'd rather hold on to pitching prospects, even though I can care less. But I understand holding on to pitching prospects because if you get one of those or 2 of those guys to pan out and become middle of the road top line starters, you don't got to pay for that. Understandable. It's easy to pay long-term deals, high value money for position players because they're more likely to stay healthy and be worth that contract over pitchers. Understandable. But the way the Mets are working here, when you got 3 middle infielders for 1 spot, along with still having Jeff McNeil, it's stupid not to trade some of those guys. It really is. All right, guys. So, latest is Mike Mayer of Mets Memorized Online stated that the Mets have very strong interest in Alex Bregman, and that is not just check-in. This is very serious interest in Alex Bregman. This Mike Mayer also said in another tweet, and actually a comment for a question that he got. Somebody said, does that mean they're out on Alonso? Mike Mayer says he's seen no indication that the Mets would be out on Pete Alonso. So that just says to me that the Mets get Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso's right around the corner. And having those 2 guys in the lineup, along with all the other guys in the lineup, with Juan Soto, your lineup is looking a hell of a lot better than it did last year. You just improved tremendously. You got a 30 home run guy in Soto, a 25 home run guy. You add in 55 home runs with 2 players you acquired, along with bringing back Alonso with his 35 to 40, Lindor with his 25 to 30, Vientos with his 30, Alvarez with his 20, Siri with his 20, Nimmo with his 20. It's a hell of a lot better of a lineup. It's stretched out. 1 through 7 is one of the better lineups in baseball. And that's not including whoever the hell you have at second base, who can probably hit you 15 to 20. So it's looking more and more, I think, Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso are going to be New York Mets. I'd be shocked if that don't happen at this point. There's been way too many rumors leading towards Bregman and the Mets when the Mets never leaked anything. It just seems like it's a match made in heaven. Like it's gonna happen. There's too much smoke with Alex Bregman to the Mets. So let's see if that develops over the next couple of days. I do believe that Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman are going to sign somewhere before. I think one of them is going to sign before Christmas. I think both of them are going to be off the board by the time the new year hits. And I think when the new year hits, that's when I think the pitching is going to start heating up. So, interest in Bregman is real. It does not take the Mets out of Alonso. There's no indication that if they get Bregman, Alonso's off the table at all. The Mets meet with Sasaki. We'll see how that develops. Again, he can't sign until the 15th of January. He's got through the 15th to the 23rd to make his final decision. And we'll see where he signs. We hope it's the Mets. That would be great, but I'm still not confident in that. But we'll see. And starting pitching market is quiet because I don't think anything is going to happen. Until the bigger position players are off the board, it's hard to see teams allocate money to the starting pitchers that are available when starting pitching has high price tags. People want their position players and see where their payroll's at by the time the pitching comes back onto their mind. Again, I said why Max Fried became pivotal for the teams that were involved, because those were the same teams that lost on Juan Soto, and they lost the best offensive player on the market, so they tried to get one of the better pitchers on the market. And it just happened that both teams that were competitive for Max Fried were in the same division, who both lost on a Juan Soto. So they both panicked to their plan B, and it was their plan B started with pitching. That's why that market developed. The Yankees, I think, got involved with Max Fried because Boston was on the verge of getting him, and the Yankees were like, damn, we can't have him go to Boston. And I think the Yankees just aggressively made an overpaid offer, which is great, which I always like teams going after it. So the starting pitching market, I don't think is going to really take off until after the new year. So look out for Bregman news and Alonso news. I think they're both going to sign prior to the new year. I think Bregman's going to sign before Christmas. I think there's way too much smoke with Bregman, not just to the Mets, but just in general. And it seems more and more, you're hearing more and more about the Mets and Bregman. So, episode 18, another Mets hot stove in the books. Key dates for everybody, pitches and catches on February 12th. Position players report on the 17th of February. Full squad workout February 19th. Spring training opening day is on February 22nd. Season opener is at Houston on March 27th. And opening day at home at Citi Field against the Toronto Blue Jays is on April 4th. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to another Mets Hot Stove. We had a ton of talk about, over an hour and 20 minutes of a Mets Hot Stove. Make sure you hit that like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed up as of yet. Thank you guys for watching. I will probably do a video or be available for any breaking news with regards to the New York Mets, any big signings, not no little, small minor league signings, breaking news, but anything with Bregman, Alonso, a pitcher that is a known name, click on that notification button. If I go live, you'll know right away if I go live. With that said, guys, everybody have a great night. Enjoy your football Sunday tomorrow and the rest of your Saturday. If you are not here by the time the holidays hit, happy holidays, guys. As always, Met fans, let's go Mets. And we'll see you next time on the Mets Hot Stove Show. Have a good night, guys. Let's go, Mets.
In the dead of night, full of echo. Concrete jungle, dreams bust to grow. Mets in the air, chase glory, no fear. Broken backs, but hearts steer clear. OMG, the chaos, what a scene. Streets buzzing like a machine. Critters from the shadows, chills on my spine. Past haunts, the future shine.